とめどなく交錯するプライドの影等しく注がれる光も閉ざすから旗は見える風吹かぬ国祈りさえ途絶えて
This video may have spoilers that may result to the overall experience of the game. If you haven't played it yet, I suggest you play the game first and enjoy it before you watch my review, since some of the contents have spoilers of the gameplay. Please be advised. It is a monumental moment to play the spiritual successor of the franchise that shaped my youth and brings so much memories playing it as a kid. Suikoden has always been a masterpiece about a hero rising through the ashes and will be triumphant against all odds. Ever since Konami abandoned the franchise, I've already given up hope that I'll probably will never see a game similar to Suikoden. But not until the previous developers revealed a Kickstarter trailer. As you can see, I've been enthusiastic in the past video showing my love for this franchise and even predicting Konami might resurrect it. Then all of a sudden, they announced the remasters of their classic titles Suikoden 1 and 2. Truly, these were the days of abundance, seeing JRPGs being released right here and there, and I couldn't be more ecstatic. Before we start, I hope that my knowledge of finishing all 5 games, Suikoden 1 to Suikoden 5 and Suikoden Tactics, will serve as my standard on rating this amazing game. But before that, Rabbit and Bear Studios first announced this game back in June 2020 as a collaboration between multiple veteran Suikoden series developers, including series creator Yoshitaka Moriyama. May his soul rest in peace. Thank you so much for the epic game that made me who I am today. He served as the director of Eiyuden Chronicle Rising, which is the prequel of the game, and this game was developed as a stretch goal for Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes on the crowdfunding platform Kickstarter, which became the most funded game in the website. Now, the story centers for our young male protagonist Noah from a humble village of Kishiri, who just enlisted to the Watch not knowing what he truly wants to do in life. During the first few hours in the game, he and the other members of the Watch was hired to accompany Saint Kessling, who is the second son of the House Kessling and lieutenant of the Imperial Army, to uncover the primal lens that could really help the Galdian Empire. After successfully obtaining the lens, it was time skip 6 months later, and Gar, the captain of the Watch, appointed Noah as the acting captain, tasked to look potential recruits since the Watch isn't doing really well. This part really gave us the freedom to explore the overworld and look for our first few recruits. At this point, I was beginning to start comparing the game to Suikoden, and so far, I feel like I am sailing through time as if I was playing through my early years. I love how they slowly show us the characters who are pivotal through the story, like the young Countess Periel Groom, who clearly shows her resentment against the man who will eventually become the main antagonist of the story, Dux Aldrich. As you progress the main story, you'll be able to recruit a lot of characters. Some you just have to speak to them, and some there are certain tasks and missions for you to recruit them. But really, it all centers towards Noah as he became the commander of the Alliance. At this point, the story is progressing really well, and I'm getting hooked since the narrative is getting really compelling. I have to say, Zane and Marisa seems to me like supporting characters rather than a central characters, although the game cover is depicting that they are also main protagonists along with Noah. Though Zane at one point has his own mission in the laboratory, Dux Aldrich is scheming, and Marisa accompanying you in the proving grounds, as well as her badass fight against the Rod in the castle of Hargantia. Neither of them felt like main protagonist material for me. Maybe it's just me. That's the only flaw that I noticed throughout the story. In spite of that, the pacing of the story amazes me, and it gave me so much goosebumps going through the last war battle against the enemy when the official soundtrack started playing during the war. My emotions are starting to flew all over the place. 10 hours in the game, that's when it started to kick into me. I was really playing Suikoden game, although the runes and some mechanics has changed. Most of it speaks Suikoden all over. I easily grasp everything from the runes, building the headquarters, since the game really lacks tutorial for beginners. It's just through some text and images. But it took me some time to really understand the war battle, since it was completely different from what I used to in the Suikoden, having real-time battle and the rock paper scissors advantages between units. At first, I was disappointed in it because they removed the unit advantages, not knowing what is happening whenever I move the units against the enemy forces, but I started to grasp how to play it after 2 to 3 war battles. Though I feel like they could have improved it a little bit more. Hopefully if they make another sequel, they should focus in war battles since it has a great potential. Now let's talk about the battle system. I love how they stick to the old recipe and cook it the way it was served to us back then. I honestly am relieved they didn't change much, and I'm glad they added the battle plan AI for auto battles, which is a game changer, letting us devise a strategy for the roles of specific units, whether they'll use MP or not, and so on. Like in Tales of Games and other battle system from the JRPGs I played before, this is a good addition since it's a pain choosing what moves to use for 6 units in battle every single time. As for the rune lens, I understood it immediately. What's the use of the magic, passive, and enhancements, letting you experiment the runes on some characters, and I must say some are broken, like they can deal so much damage, for example Yusuke Cheese, and very OP in early game. By adding some rune of mighty power and the warrior pinnacle runes and crit rates, he is really very overpowered, I must say. The mages are quite underwhelming and underperforming early game, so mostly what they do is support your main damage dealer during the first few hours of the game, but some mages like Momo, Aisha will become really great towards the end, really proving they are god tier when it comes to damage dealing. The dungeons is, how should I put it into words? Yes, very complex, especially abandoned mines and the proving grounds. Whoever designed these dungeons are sadists who wants to see us suffer. The proving grounds, where do I even start? I mean, the rotating labyrinth reminds me of Fairy Tail during the Grand Magic games. It gives me so much headache, plus going back and forth and trial and error on which path to take to unlock the ruins. But I have to say, it really did challenge every single last brain cells I have now with the one-on-one battles. I wish they could have added more, especially some recruits have one-on-one battle that they could have added a sequence instead of the normal turn-based battle system. I know they are trying to make some changes to it, probably because of the copyright issues from Konami. I'm not 100% sure if that's the case, but I wish they could have added more because I really love guessing what to choose between attack, defend, and special, now called break. Here depends on their dialogue. The controversial voice acting. I've been reading a lot of bad comments about it everywhere. This is just a funded game from Kickstarter, so it's given that having a large company backing it is a lot of pressure. I am really happy that they decided to have voice acting because most of the characters have spot on and great voice actors like Leon, Noah, Sane, Gar, Periel, CJ, Francesca, and the list goes on. And some have really okay and just fine voice acting. Overall, it's okay, and I prefer it over no voice acting instead of just reading the text because that will make me very sleepy. The castle building, this part was one of my favorites. I recently found myself liking island building in Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth, although not quite similar, though the idea is to upgrade the castle and gain population as you upgrade buildings, shops, via resources that you can obtain during guild missions as a reward, and some of them you can gather in dungeons, taking advantage of the supports bonus you can add on your party. The minigames, especially the fishing. The fishing minigame is so simple. Compared to what I enjoyed recently in Sea of Stars, the fishing game there was one of my favorite. What I like so far in the minigames here is the Big Goma minigame battles. Like the Beyblades that I used to play so much way back then, and also the card game was such an entertaining minigame. Whoever created these minigames needs a raise and bonus. The egg food minigame is just okay, while the theater one is quite interesting and cute. Letting you cast anyone for the roles is fine. They also brought back the dialogues during Hot Bath, Spring. The Cook of Battle was really great as well, but I feel like most of the characters here are picky eaters. I just want to teach them all how to be grateful with food. I am really satisfied with the headquarters of the Alliance since there's a lot of things to do and a lot of things to explore. I also noticed that only the active party members of your team gets healed when you stay on any inn, and the bench characters for some reason doesn't get healed. I'm not sure if it's intended like that or if it's a bug or something. Let's tackle about the graphics now. One word to describe it: amazing. It's like what I saw in the trailer, and it's even better on my PlayStation 5. Though I heard the Switch version has some issues, but knowing the system of Switch, it's given that it will have a lot of problem. The beautiful HD 2D is just so pleasing to the eye. Sometimes during the gameplay I can't help myself but just adore the beautiful graphics of the overworld. What truly captivated me with Eiyuden Chronicle is the feeling of reminiscing the old titles like Suikoden 5, Suikoden 2, and Suikoden 3. It's like a mix of these three games. It gives me a major deja vu because I find the similarities of the four characters in Suikoden 5, Noah being the prince, Lian being Leon, Cyanids being Mia, and Gar being Sir George Prime. In Suikoden 2, Noah and Sane reminded me a lot of the friendship of Ryu and Joey. And in Suikoden 3, the three main protagonists giving me the same vibe as here. I'm really hoping they made another game in the future as a sequel to the story or a different one but in the same world. We might see some recurring characters like Vicky and Jean here, probably Carrie and Momo. This game truly embodies what a successor game of an old school JRPG should be, making sure to deliver a spectacle gameplay experience both for the longtime fans and also for the newer generation. It's far from perfect, having some technical issues that can easily be fixed over time, but nevertheless they never failed to deliver what they promised and stayed true to its roots. Eiyuden Chronicle 100 Heroes is such a wonderful game about honor, friendship, and patriotism. Truly a great spiritual successor of our beloved, or I must say still beloved, Suikoden. The game deserves a score, my personal score, of 9.1 out of 10.